Oops. Good morning, U.S. history. Today, I will not be here, but you'll have a sub, so I just wanted to make a little intro instructional video, as well as the main direct instruction you'll be receiving today, because I'll be giving a little lecture and you guys will be taking some brief notes. So first off, here's the message, just kind of like on Friday. Good morning, everyone. Today you're going to have a sub. And again, please treat her with the same amount of respect that you have treated me with, my bad, because you guys are very respectful. And I know that can sometimes happen where subs don't get the same respect as like me as a teacher. So I just kind of I expect you guys to treat her with the same respect. She's a really nice person and she wants to help you guys. But anyways, for class today, we're going to be starting a new lesson on OPVL analysis. I don't expect you guys to know what that means. And I'm going to be going over the process of OPVL analysis in the YouTube video below. The one I'm currently recording, I'll insert it in to this post so you guys have access to it. But anyways, you're going to be taking notes with the worksheet linked below. However, you're going to continue to work on the worksheet tomorrow. So you're only going to be doing the top chart portion. I'll show you what that is. And ensure you fill out the top chart of the OPVL notes, like I said right there, as demonstrated in the video. So what you're going to do is open this note sheet. Then you're going to go to File. Then you're going to go to Make a Copy to have your own personalized copy of the OPVL note sheet. And once you do this, you're going to start to take notes. Today, all we're going to do is the presentation notes portion. And that's how I'm going to help you guys out within this video. So this part. So once you make your copy of your notes by, again, going to File, Make a Copy, and then calling it like OPVL note sheet, then you can look at this slideshow right here, or you can just kind of watch this video and take notes. So I'm going to open the slideshow, give you guys the presentation, and you guys will be taking notes. Oh, my bad, I'm not going to click this again. But in that OPVL note sheet, and I'm going to be going over origin, purpose, value, limitations. And for each of those, I'll be giving you a definition, useful questions to ask yourself to kind of understand how to do this, and places to look for origin within a document. Essentially what this worksheet is for is that you learn about these keywords, origin, purpose, value, and limitations. And these are all things or aspects of a source you should look for. And if you're able to find the origin, the purpose, the value, and the limitation of a information source, then you'll be able to better understand that information source and you'll be able to use it effectively in your analysis of a historical event. So I'll be teaching you guys the bare bone basics of how to find these things, what these things even are, and useful questions to ask yourself when thinking about these questions or when thinking about these aspects of origin, purpose, value, and limitations. So again, you have it in the slideshow right here, but I'll give you a little presentation via YouTube as well. You guys always have access to this. Remember, this is going to be posted. So I'll give a little brief presentation for you guys. So strategies for analyzing historical sources. We at this high school tend to use origin, purpose, value, limitations. That's what OPVL stands for. And these are going to be things that are present in every, or they won't necessarily be present in every historical source that you look at. These are questions you should be asking yourself about every single source that you look at. And if you can kind of determine the origin, purpose, value, and limitations of a source, you can more effectively use that source to expand your knowledge of a historical event. So you don't have to write anything for this slide. I'll kind of show you one slide and I'll show you where you're supposed to write everything for origin, because that's going to come first in our presentation. And you guys are going to have, and it's basically a repeat, so you'll understand the kind of procedure. So again, these are the 4 keywords for the day. They're already written in your chart, so you don't have to write them. You just need to fill in your chart today. Origin. So origin, the definition of origin is the era, location, and person from which the document came from. So you would write this right here into the origin definition box. Okay, so let's go back. So again, it's the era, location, and person from which the document came from. And some useful questions to ask yourself when trying to determine the usefulness of knowing the origin. Where was the source created? Because that's the location. Who created the source? That's the person from which the document came from. And when was the source created? That's the era where the document was from. Places to look for where the origin of a source is. in my experience, I've tended to find origins of a source near the top of a document, under the document, or labeled by the publisher of the document. So here's the thing about OPVL. I'll actually keep it on the slide for you guys as well if you are copying it from the YouTube video. OPVL in historical analysis is a bit of a science and an art. So the science part of it is kind of categorizing the information into origin, purpose, value, and limitations. But the art aspect of it is you kind of have to work with the sources and kind of get a lot of repetitions in to get more effective at historical analysis. It's kind of like shooting a free throw. There's like a science of shooting a free throw in basketball. You put your elbow in a certain place, you have the follow through, but also it's a little bit of feel, it's a little bit of art, and it's a little bit of practice of, shooting free throws. You can read like a million books on how to shoot a free throw. And then, you can maybe be a little bit better, but you're never going to actually be able to shoot a free throw or be able to make a bunch of free throws if you don't practice yourself. So a lot of this stuff does come with practice, and I'm giving you the baseline science right now of how to do analysis. I'm trying to explain the art as well, but you guys will be getting a lot of time throughout this week to practice OPVL historical analysis. So here, you might not always find it here. This is where I'm just kind of providing you guys the art of historical analysis. This is kind of my experience where I found the origin of a document. Also, why does it matter that I know the era, location, and person from which the document came from? Well, in terms of era, people use different words that have different connotations at different times in history. So something that can mean like something super offensive and you could take it very offensively or something. It might just be that in that era that was actually a compliment. So you're going to interpret that source differently. The location that the source came from. There's a lot of different colloquial slang, even just in America. So that can also change. Also, the cultural customs of where the document came from. It might give that document kind of different connotations or a different meaning. So that's something you have to consider. And the person from which the document came from, that can drastically alter the accuracy of that document, how much you should trust it. The best example, and I'll do one example for each one, is like Hitler's Mein Kampf. That's like a book that Hitler wrote when he was in jail before he became in charge of Germany. So the era he wrote it in was interwar Germany, so in between World War I and World War II. The location he wrote this book in, I think, was in Munich, so like southern Germany. And the person from which the document came from was Hitler. And we kind of know based off of that information that, well, okay, Hitler's very, like, not the most trustworthy guy, to say the least. He said, like, Jews come from, like, mushrooms and poisonous mushrooms and stuff like that. The era that it came from was between World War I and World War II, and it was in Germany. So we know that there's this guy, Hitler, who's not very trustworthy, in Germany after they lost World War I, in an era right before World War II. So this guy's probably very angry because they just lost World War II, and he's from Germany. Well, he's from Austria, but he fought for Germany in World War II, or World War I and World War II. So that's kind of, we know that the document, Mein Kampf, his book, is going to be a little bit not super accurate. That's why it's important to know origin. It doesn't mean we can't use the book for like another part of our historical analysis for like maybe getting into the mindset of Hitler, but it doesn't mean we should use this document, Mein Kampf, to be like, oh, this is a good story of kind of what actually happened, how Germans actually lost World War I, because it's just kind of Hitler's viewpoint, which isn't super accurate. Okay, purpose. So the reason for which the document was created, that's the definition. So again, you're going to write the definition for purpose right here. You're going to write the useful questions for purpose right here. And then you're going to write places to look for purpose right here. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation. So the purpose, again, is the reason for which the document was created. Useful questions, what is the main idea of the author? Who was the author writing for? Those are things you should consider. And then finally, places to look. I tend to look at the first paragraph or the last paragraph in a document, and then also check the last or first sentence in each of these paragraphs. A lot of times when you're a historian, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to be one in this class, you're going to get a lot of documents. You're not going to be able to read the whole thing well, maybe you will read the whole thing, but it's better for you to kind of skim the document first to understand the origin, purpose, value, and limitations of the document before you delve in and actually start to read the thing in depth. And I'll demonstrate how to do that tomorrow, but today is devoted to learning about origin, purpose, value, and limitations. So purpose. Why is it important to know the purpose of a document? Well, the purpose of the document, as in what's the main idea and who the author is writing for, is very valuable because we'll understand why the document was created in the first place for the time. I'm trying to think of very famous sources that I could use as an example. I'll try to think of modern day sources as well. For example, I'm not saying good or bad, but like let's say Trump's Twitter feed. The author is writing for his supporters mainly. He's not really writing for people who already don't like him on his Twitter. He already knows that they're not going to like what he says. And the main idea is kind of dependent on the actual tweet itself. But for example, President Trump, the people he is writing for is his supporters. So obviously the type of stuff he's going to put there is going to be stuff that really kind of makes his fan base really excited and might not necessarily directly mirror his exact policy, but it might just be some rhetoric to make his people kind of happy. That's kind of how we could, if we're like historians of the future, that's kind of how we would analyze the tweets. We're not going to be like, oh, that's the exact thing Trump did, but that's going to be the thing that Trump kind of just says in general to make his supporters happy and support him more. That's how a future historian will use like Twitter in the future. Okay, value. The usefulness of the document under study for the historian. So this is the part where you kind of like finish up the document or the information source, and then you kind of reflect and say, why was this useful to me? What did I learn about the historical time period under question? So what did this document teach you about the period you are studying? Again, this is the definition. So you write that in the definition. Then next, another useful question is, what is the reputation of the creator of the document? Did the reputation change after writing the document? Kind of ignore this question. I would look at the top question more. What did this document teach you? And then places to look, concluding an intro paragraph, and then also the author info section for that second question, but more focused on that first question. I'd actually say completely focus on that first question. What did this document teach you about the period you are studying? So for example, maybe you are trying to think of other historical events that we know a lot about, that like people generally know a decent amount about. I just feel like the world wars you guys know the most about. I feel like not everyone likes war, but I'm trying to think of other examples. We'll go to like ancient Athens or something. So for example, what if, for example, you thought that the ancient Athenians ate a certain type of food, but then like your whole life, but then you realize that they ate a different type of food that was found very far away due to an archaeological find. Like they ate like, I don't know, like turkey. That didn't happen. But we'll say, for example, well, what would that value, that archaeological find, teach you about the time period of ancient Athens? It would teach you that ancient Athens maybe was trading with people from far away places, and that you didn't know that before. So that's the value of that document, for example. This like little fake archaeological find of, they found out that they were like turkey bones or something. So that means that ancient Athenians were eating turkey. They didn't do that. Just saying that's an example. They did not actually eat turkey. You did not hear that from me. Okay, final one, limitations. The pitfalls of the source under study for the historian. There's no set formula. This is the most complicated one. Again, I'm going to demo how to do this tomorrow. I more just want you guys to get a broad understanding of this in your head for your notes as well, so you can kind of refer back to your notes. But these are kind of questions you can ask yourself. But one way I would kind of summarize this is, after reading the information source, what questions do you still have about the time period under study? So for example, we'll go to a different example. Let's say the Roman Empire, and I see an information source about like a law that was passed in ancient Rome or something. After I read it, I understand the law, but some limitations I might have based off of that source is I don't know if the law was popular, I don't know if people liked it, because it's just that law. It doesn't include any other information. That's a limitation of the document and help me understand the time period. That's the entire presentation. Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, email me, and goodbye.